Longe Eguahide is the Managing Director and CEO at ICO Pensions, but is also the President of the Pension Operators Association of Nigeria. And they said they've got a lot to talk about with the buzz all around the 5 trillion naira pension liabilities. Where is the money and who should have access to it? But the big question, whose money is it? Let's start the conversation. Good morning. Thanks for coming.
Good morning, boss.
Very key question. The word on the street. Is this money available to the federal government of Nigeria? Yes or no?
It's not the federal government's money. I can't give you a yes or no answer to that question. It is money of Nigerian workers. But the Nigerian workers also live in Nigeria and they want to see decent public services. But the first and foremost, we need to understand that the purpose of that money is to pay for retirement. Any developmental intention or insinuation is ancillary to what the purpose of that money is. But like I said, it's not mutually exclusive that you contribute money for pension and you don't take care of your environment. But the key question is the process. Development in developing societies like Nigeria, I mean, the buzzword is infrastructure, is not a funding problem. It's not a funding problem. It's a concept and strategy problem. Process. That's what the problem is.
There have been words on the streets that the government should tap into this money. Yes. Is this 5 trillion naira sitting somewhere in one bank account and we could just go pick it up?
Let us put this in perspective. This is 5.2 trillion naira and 6.8 million subscribers.
Nigerians?
Yes.
Who are contributors?
So that is less than 1 million naira per subscriber. So 5.2 trillion naira is not a heck of a lot of money. It's the important thing to know is that it has, and of the 5.2 trillion naira, about approximately 2 trillion of that money is investment income.
Already?
Exactly, that is money.
In what portfolio?
There's a breakdown. But the point I'm trying to make is that it wasn't 5.2 trillion naira that was contributed originally. It was about 3 trillion naira. The managers of that money have grown it to 5.2 trillion naira from the 3 trillion naira of total contributions that have been made. So the money is not sitting down idle anywhere. It's being put to work. It's broken down in various asset classes. I mean, there's government bonds, there's equities, there are state government bonds, there are corporate bonds, money market instruments, there's real estate in some cases, there's some foreign equities in the portfolio, you know, but it's being managed professionally. I think that's the key thing.
So when the word go out on the street that there is 5.2 trillion naira pensions money,
yes,
we're talking about managed funds,
exactly,
not idle cash sitting somewhere.
Certainly not. Certainly not. And that's the reason why I emphasize this. 3 trillion naira contributed, 2 trillion naira added to that money from investment, from utilization of the money to produce more money. So you see, what has happened in the pension industry is that you have evolved a goose that has been laying several golden eggs. If you now move in to say you want to appropriate that money, you kill the goose, no more eggs. The pension industry has set itself a target over the next 8 years of growing this funds under management to 20 trillion, and we aim for 30 million subscribers, 30 million contributors. That's the area that government should tap into. Look at pension management as from the standpoint of economic strategy rather than from appropriation. You know, because if you look at it as a plank of economic strategy, you will set off a virtuous cycle.
So you think there is a dark clouds hanging over the pension market right now?
Well, yes, they are. I mean,
because the politicians look like they're sketching around this money.
They are. I mean, I think that's a poverty mentality. It's a poverty mentality because you're looking at 5.2 trillion and you're excited. What is 5.2 trillion naira in the scheme of things? I heard you talking earlier on about railways. How much does it cost to build a railway? Should we not have railways in this country? But what you need to do is to think about a portion of this as a catalyst. I mean, and the investment regulations, as guided by PENCOM, make ample provision for investment in infrastructure. What it is, like I said, is not a funding problem. Where are the assets? What is the strategy of bringing those? What is the critical infrastructure that needs to be built that will generate enough revenue to build another one, and another one, and another one? That's how it has worked in countries where pension has been used to finance development.
So infrastructure provisions are long-term assets?
Certainly.
And pensions are also long-term money?
Yes.
So don't they meet?
They meet, but you also need to understand that the managers of the money that we've spoken, the managers of the projects we've talked about, haven't proven to be very good managers. I don't want to say it, but government hasn't proven to be very good manager of projects. So you have a lot of white elephant projects that haven't been delivered. But that's in the past. Going forward, we have engaged with the government. We've had a meeting called by the Minister of Finance, and we've spoken about what needs to be done. We've spoken about what the critical focus areas should be. You also know the celebrated attendance at our retreat, our recent retreat of the Minister of Works, Power and Housing. He's giving us some ideas, but you see, those ideas are not ideas that will float in the air. They have to get up and walk. And getting up and walking is the process.
Did you tell Babatunde Fashola, the Minister for Power, Housing and Works, that yes, you pension operators ready to give in the money, but what would he have to deliver?
We are not ready to give him the money because the money doesn't belong to us.
So what did you talk about then?
We are ready to invest in critical infrastructure that has an identifiable revenue stream and that also is guided by the understanding that the pensioners will not be paid by blocks or railway tracks. They will be paid by cash, right, at the end of the rainbow. And so you have to put it in projects that will generate money, come back to the fund, and the fund has liquidity to pay its contributors, right? It's very critical to understand that. That is the meaning of bankable projects.
Were you discussing public-private partnership with the Honorable Minister?
Yes, we were.
Was that the discussion?
Yes, we were. We discussed that with him. The Minister showed very great understanding. We understand that there are people in government, and we heard something over the news a few days ago about fraud in the pension industry, sharp practices by pension fund administrators. I think that's misinformed completely. And, you know, there's this thing about institutional memory. We imagine that if you have, one of the important things about democracy is to retain information. And we know that the National Assembly has done extensive work on the pension industry. We imagine that people who walk through those walls in the National Assembly would retain that institutional memory. So to shoot breeze and say that PFAs are fraudulent and that the money is idle, I think that's completely misinformed. Completely. I mean, and that should be corrected. It should be corrected immediately, and people should stop thinking about money being idle somewhere that they'll just go and take. You should think of feeding the goose so that it lays a lot more golden eggs.
The members of Assembly, the legislators who were saying this, are they not part of the pension funds market?
Yes. I wouldn't know. Maybe they get paid a pension. I mean, I hope they are. But the thinking is wrong if you want to grab the money. And this is what I said about appropriation. Think about putting the money in projects that regenerate the money. Think about growing the pension assets to 20 trillion. Because if you have 20 trillion, you then have long-term money that can meet long-term projects that are well thought out. Very important. You have to have good managers. You have to have good concepts. You have to have good contractors. You have to have good people who execute properly. And then you have to have good managers of the assets that keep it rolling. We all like going to England and we look at the underground. It's beautiful, but it starts from the right concepts. That's what happens.
So it's not absence, it's not the absence of infrastructure, but the absence of bankable projects that you can put pension money on?
Well, you could say that, but for me, it is the absence of the right thinking. We first need to conceptualize this well.
So there's absence of right thinking through programs from the government side.
Let me give you an example. Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. I think that's a fantastic project. But who owns the concession? Who owns the concession? I don't know. If you tell me who owns the concession and the person comes and speaks to the pension industry, we will evolve. We will evolve the right instruments to back that project. And another thing, when we say there hasn't been investment in infrastructure, 65 to 70% of the funds are invested in government bonds. Government bonds are not supposed to be used for recurrent expenditure. The money that is generated from government are not supposed to be used for recurrent expenditure. What has the government done with that money? Ask me, I don't know. I'm not in government. Some states have taken money in bonds, like Lagos State, a case in point, and they've used it for infrastructure development, and we can see what that has done. Osun State has done the same thing. They run into a difficult patch, but nonetheless, they have improved their infrastructure. So has Niger State. So these are states that have benefited from the contributory pensions, from establishing the contributory pension scheme, have borrowed money from the pension fund, from the industry, and have utilized it
via the bond market.
Yes, for projects that we can see that have created value, right? But they have used it in the understanding that they have to pay back, right? And they've utilized it well. The virtuous cycle has kicked off, and you can see what the new governor of Lagos State is now keying into. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. That's the kind of thing.
Okay, let's leave it there for today. I was just about to ask you what the future of the pension industry really is. Can you say that in about a minute?
I think that it is very bright. Like I said to you, we're aiming for 20 trillion. We have very, very great professionals in the pension industry, and I think we can deliver value. We want to partner with governments, but we want to partner with government in the right way. It's not government money, it is Nigerian workers' money. But Nigerian workers also want to live in a good environment. I think everybody, we can create a win-win environment with that.
I think I have a very small amount of money in that 5.2 trillion. Yes. I don't know the percentage. It's good to come to 0.00000 kind of infinity. But I got a small thing in there as well.
Yes, I mean, little drops of water.
Of what to do, little drops of water. I don't know who to lend the money, but I'll think about it. Now we've spoken about it. Lunga Egukayari, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate your time today. The Managing Director at ICO Pensions and the President of the Pension Operators in Nigeria, 5.2 trillion naira. Whose money is it? This Nigerians' money.
Thank you very much.
Let's have a break. We'll be right back.